yourself.
Yeah, when I was
27 or 28 pounds.
Sorry. I'd like to call to order this Public Works Committee meeting for the City of Rapid City on Tuesday, January 9th. Our first order of business is roll call and determination of quorum. Brenda, when you're ready.
Drew.
Here.
Solomon. Modrick.
Here.
Roberts. Nordstrom. We have a quorum.
Okay. Next up is the adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt?
so moved.
Second. Motion by Nordstrom, second by Roberts to adopt the agenda. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And the agenda is adopted. Now is the time for general public comment, a time for members of the public to discuss or express concerns to the committee on any issue not limited to items on the agenda. Action will not be taken at the meeting on any issue not on the agenda except by placement on the agenda by unanimous vote of the aldermen present. And we have no public comment slips. So public comment is closed, general public comment, that is. Now we go on the consent items. Let's see here. We don't have any public comment on that, so it's open and also closed. And we move on to approval, let's see here, the adoption of the agenda and removal of items by members of the committee. Oh, Jason.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to pull item number 5, please.
Thank you. Richie Nordstrom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Item 11.
Thank you. Motion to adopt the remainder of the agenda with the exclusion of item 5 and item 11. Moved by Roberts, second by Modrick. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And it passes with the exception of 5 and 11. So go on to item number 5, Catron Boulevard Widening Project, project number 16-2343, CIP number 511115. And we go to Jason Solomon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, I'd like to make a motion to approve. If I can retain the floor.
Motion by Solomon to approve, second by Roberts. Go on.
Thank you. May I direct a question to our Public Works Director, Dale Tech?
That's fine.
Mr. Tech, so I see here we have the widening project and estimated cost of $1.5 million. We know we have a lot going on in the Catron area, and I was hoping you could give us some more insight about the work that's being done here.
Certainly, I'd be happy to. This project primarily is going to be the widening of Catron Boulevard from Highway 16 to the west down to Nugget Gulch. At Nugget Gulch, it's currently a 5-lane section with 2 lanes eastbound, westbound, as well as a center turn lane. We're looking to extend that same section throughout the project. It will include some basic roadway lighting as well, as I understand it. So we're looking at getting this project let and under construction this year.
I appreciate you doing that. Obviously, this is a hotbed of activity with Horizon Point. We also have Buffalo Crossing and other projects coming along there, and so we know we have some narrow patches with 2 or 3 lanes, and widening those up will help keep the flow going. So appreciate you working on that, and I'll yield the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question for Dale Tech as well. Dale? Is any consideration being given to dark skies lighting on this project as you go forward with the lighting?
Since this is an arterial roadway, we have to do lighting per AASHTO standards. So the lighting that we're going to be installing meets current standards. We can certainly look at having some cutoff lenses, if you will, to try to reduce the amount of light that gets broadcast sideways, if you will, but the lighting that we use does not broadcast upwards. A lot of that you see in some of the decorative lighting, and this will not be decorative lighting.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is you would look into more mitigation of the light or not?
I'm saying we're going to apply our same standard for arterial roadway lighting. In this instance, we don't have any codes that require the dark skies lighting at this time. But certainly we will be mindful of putting any fixtures up that will cause a lot of glare or cast the light upward.
or light pollution. So thank you. I'm glad to hear that. So right now, the motion on the floor is to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And the motion carries. We're on to item number 11. Authorize Mayor and Finance Officer to sign an easement agreement with Black Hills Energy for relocation of 65 kW power line on city landfill property along Highway 16 bypass. And we go to Richie Nordstrom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was reading the article in, first of all, if I may, make a motion to approve and authorize the mayor and financier to sign the easement.
Second.
Motion by Nordstrom, second by Modrick, and go ahead, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Almost got ahead of myself. I was looking at yesterday's newspaper, and there was an appearance of a lot of confusion and the feedback that I was getting about the confusion about the landfill cost. And if I may direct a question to Dale Tech or a clarification on this item.
I think you can go ahead, yep.
Thank you. Mr. Tech, the implication, the way it was coming across in the newspaper, this was going to be part of a major cost to the city, and my understanding is that this easement agreement with Black Hills Energy and the relocation is going to be paid primarily by Black Hills Energy. Am I correct?
You are not correct. This item was brought forward to the council a while back. Black Hills Energy has a existing power line and in an existing easement. They have all legal rights to that easement. We're requesting that that be moved, so it is at city's expense to move this power line.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I just wanted to make sure everybody understood where the money was coming from and how it was being paid for. So I appreciate the clarification. Thank you.
I see no more lights, and the motion on the floor is to approve. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, and the motion passes. We are now on to non-consent items, items 12 and 13. Public comment is opened on items 12 and 13, and seeing no slips registered, I'll close public comment, and we'll go right into these engineering services items. Number 12, appeal of denied exception request from KTM Design Solutions on behalf of Dean Ham to waive the requirement to construct sewer main along Murfield Drive, City File 17EX197. The only exception denied by staff out of the 4 total exceptions submitted for the project, and it is continued from December 26th. And I hear once again we have a request of continuance by KTM, and I would like to go to Dale Tech. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. It's been pretty busy this morning. We actually had visited with Kyle and the applicant, and we thought we were at terms with the agreement, but there's a couple more little things that we need to look at. So happy to report that things are moving in a positive direction, and we believe that this will be finalized within the next 2 weeks. So we request that that be continued.
I have a question, seeing no other lights. Why was it decided that we would have an explanation here of the only exception denied by staff out of 4 total exceptions submitted for the project? Why did you feel the need to kind of educate us on this project?
We've been including that on most of our staff reports and recommendations.
With other projects than this?
Yes.
I've just missed it? Okay. All right. I just want to make sure that we're not getting kind of some kind of specialized treatment going on with this project. All right, so that'll be continued to the next Public Works meeting. I guess I need a motion.
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion by Roberts, second by Modrick, and all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, and the motion is, or the item is continued. Item number 13, request from Chuck Gummo for Air Server of the Black Hills for a variance to waive the requirement to install sidewalk per city ordinance 12.0806.060 along Galt Court for the property located at 3535 Galt Court. And we go to Lisa Modrick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question for Del Tech, if I could.
Please.
Thank you. Hi, Dale. I know we've got this before us on a variance request in an area that's starting to expand and develop. And in looking at the information that we have, we've got that small area between Taggart Road and Seeger Drive that is developed that currently doesn't have sidewalk, is that right?
There are areas throughout this development that do have sidewalks and do not. Galt Court, for instance, there are 6 platted lots. Of the 6 platted lots, 4 of the lots have been constructed upon. 3 of them have installed sidewalk. The 4th was constructed prior to our ordinance changing, requiring the sidewalk at the time. So we feel it's appropriate to install sidewalk on this particular parcel at the time they pull a building permit, just as the previous 3 properties have done on this particular street.
So we still have the corner on the cul-de-sac that hasn't got a building permit on it yet. It's not, nothing is determined on that corner.
Correct.
So where Galt Court, where the exception request is at 3535 Galt Court, that right now would end where there's no construction yet on that corner, and then pick up again on the other side of Galt Court, so that's the finished side. Then this one will hit. But then do we have another sidewalk that connects with Galt Court, or are they going to just be the only sidewalk with no ends on that side?
At this time, they'll be the only sidewalk on Galt Court. It would be in the council's wheelhouse to order in sidewalks on the corner lot that was constructed prior to the ordinance changing.
And that's where I can see going with this. Either we work towards the variance option if we don't call in the other property so that we finish this cul-de-sac. We either call it in or we don't. Otherwise, we'll end up with 2 ends with no place, and that could stay a very long time. So we've got a pretty tough decision to make on sidewalks and those that are coming up now that are end-to-end. And do we go forward and call those in now? Is this the appropriate time? Which would be fair then to the construction that's needed for this business? Or do we variance and wait again? That's the question I'm asking ourselves to discuss now. Thank you.
Jason Solomon.
I make a motion to deny the request.
Motion by Solomon to deny the request, second by Nordstrom. And we'll go to Lisa Modrick again.
Question, the motion maker?
Okay.
So by doing this, do you feel that we shouldn't call in 2231 Taggart Road property on that side of Galt?
By all means, if you want to do that, we can do that. But I think being that other property owners in that cul-de-sac have had to install sidewalks, I think it's only fair to spread that out to everybody else. I'm pretty reasonable when it comes to sidewalks, and if there's a sidewalk to nowhere all over the place, I can kind of understand that. But there are properties that install a sidewalk knowing that it'll eventually get linked up in the near future. And so because in this particular cul-de-sac, there are properties that do have the sidewalk, I feel like it's fair to all to keep the consistency.
So since Dale has shared that we've got sidewalks on the already built on these properties, this one we don't, the one next to it we don't, is that correct, Dale? The one next to it doesn't?
The property to the west of this property does not have sidewalk because they have not come in and applied for a building permit. At the time that they come in and build a structure on that property, they'll be required to put sidewalk in.
So do we begin the process of calling them in now?
When they come in for a building permit, they'll either put it in or apply for a request. Then, obviously, we're setting a standard. In general, our rule of thumb is put the sidewalk in unless it's unreasonable to request it. So topography, or we have a few reasons, and we will grant those. I feel like it's reasonable in this situation. There are properties, for example, that I've been involved in that we put the sidewalk knowing it's not leaking up yet because it's going to at some point. So it's for consistency's sake that I do this, and because there are others in that cul-de-sac that do have sidewalks. So by all means, if you want to make motions about ordering things in and stuff, I'm not sure we have to, but I would just let it, when they come in for their building permit, get it, and then we can always order in the gap at that point.
Yeah, I think that's something we need to be considerate of as we're starting to finish some of these areas that are out there. And I think if it's okay, we do have somebody here to speak on the business. Would you like to come up to the podium? If you don't mind, Madam Chair?
I'll allow it. I'll allow it.
Thank you.
I guess the big thing that I'm looking at...
Excuse me, could you introduce yourself?
Oh,
and
sorry.
Say your address, please.
Chuck Dummel with AirServe, 3535 Galt Road, or Court. I keep calling it Court Road. I guess my concern on it, I don't plan on developing the whole property right now, which I have about 200 square feet of property that I gotta put a sidewalk on. If I could get the variance for this one and the next one I have to put it on, I'd be all up for that. But right now I have a sidewalk that goes to nowhere. And if Country Hearth doesn't put their sidewalk in, there's really no way for anybody to come into my side, which that's where my concern is right now, as far as getting that sidewalk in there. Plus, all the businesses that are in there, there is no foot traffic that is needed. FedEx is in there, which that's a distribution center. You've got the RV center, which is a parts and service. That's not going to really need any foot traffic in there. And you got Frito-Lay on the other side, which is no foot traffic. And Country Hearth is a distribution center. And I'm going to be a heating air conditioning shop. And what I plan on putting on the rest of the property is not going to need foot traffic. We're not looking at putting retail in there. It's going to be more supply houses, or people of my sort would be shops, is what I'm looking at building that property with.
And that's where it's a difficult job for us, because the ordinance has been laid out to request those walkable spaces. It's a now and into the future, because more and more cities are putting those spaces into place, even if it's an employee that just needs to walk. It's for safety reasons. This is a cul-de-sac and trucks, and I know that there is it's a smaller area. It's not like a long road with fast traffic, but it makes our job pretty tough, because yours is, and that area is developing specific, and it isn't 100 employees that are doing lunch walks, and so it's really a tough one. But if we do it now with you, then, like you said, as the others come in, they will do it too, and then we're aligned with our ordinance. What makes it tough, it's a good motion on the floor, and we need to make sure all the businesses are doing it so that they do tie in and we don't have a sidewalk to nowhere. So I hope that part you can understand, the tough part that we have. If we don't say yes, then what's going to happen to the next one next to you, when we really should do it too? But I appreciate that you gave us a little piece of explanation as well, and thank you.
Thank you.
Chair recognizes Richie Nordstrom.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Kumar, I just wanted to add on a couple of other comments, is that the issue that I'm concerned about is the pedestrian safety, and we've also got it in our walk audit that we have back in our planning department, that we use and rely upon that extensively. And I also comply with on case-by-case basis, because I've approved sidewalks or denied sidewalks being installed in some areas where it's just not feasible to have a sidewalk in there. But in this case, for me, especially on the safety side, and there's some other reasons why, in other cases, why I advocate for sidewalks, but in this case here, it's primarily getting people off of the street, if there is even one pedestrian walking through there. I'm not saying that there is a ton of pedestrians in this area. I understand and realize that, but it is just one person. That's all we need, and then that has justification enough for me to require a sidewalk. Thank you. Yield.
John Roberts.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I really appreciate Alderwoman Modrick bringing this up, because this is an interesting one and a difficult one. When you have a sidewalk that I imagine they had a variance on years ago on Taggart Drive, so I understand that you don't want to put a sidewalk in that isn't connected, and I understand that there may or may not be the fortitude to call in the sidewalk on the existing property. But to be fair, you know, if we're going to put you in and make you install your sidewalks, we should call that sidewalk in on that existing property. I'm not a huge fan of calling in sidewalks because once we do that, we've opened up a Pandora's box all over Rapid City. But there is going to come the day, I think it's going to have to be done. Hopefully it's a day after I retire from this position, but it is going to have to happen. You know, I've been on this council quite a while now, and I've given a lot of variances on sidewalks. I don't really have an issue of giving a variance on a sidewalk on a cul-de-sac, because typically there isn't much foot traffic on it, and like you said, being industrial, I was never for forcing the industrial areas of Rapid City into putting sidewalks in. There's certain places, there's certain areas, and there's certain types of industrial parks where I think they can be built that way and should be built that way. But when you have these on-demand businesses where people are driving to and you're not relying on the foot traffic and on the traffic off of the street, you're not going to have people that are out there walking around, and if they are, they can walk in your parking lot or they can walk in your green space on your lot. So, you know, I would have no problem whatsoever waiving the sidewalk, giving a variance on the sidewalk. It's one of them that's just an added cost to a build out, and really, in my opinion, it's not needed. And for pedestrian safety, saying that I think is a little ridiculous in a cul-de-sac that, you know, may have 20 cars a day coming through it at 5 miles an hour. So anyway, thank you very much.
All right, the motion on the floor is to deny, and all in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
I'm voting in favor of the denial. This will go on, so the motion is passed, 3-2. This is not the ultimate determining body here. We're recommending body, so on next Tuesday night, you can come before the council again and speak your piece, and they make the final decision. So, but right now, you're recommended denied this variance. Thank you. All right. Motion adjourned by Nordstrom, second by Solomon. All in favor? Aye. Meeting is adjourned.